Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. So we'll just jump right into it today. It's time to get the track rollers set up to the track frames. We've got the right side frame on the sawhorses, left side frame is on the floor waiting its turn. And you remember the last episode we disassembled, cleaned, inspected all of this stuff. Overall happy with what we found. Also, you'll remember some of the thrust washers were either missing their locating tabs altogether, or they were getting a lot of wear on them. So my friends at Floor and Tractor still had the thrust washers in stock, new old stock, never been used. These are the 4B7620 part number, and I've already placed all of those where they need to be. And they also have the adjustment shims still in stock. This is the 3B1403. It's about a 10 thousandths thick shim, and you just use however many of those you need to get your in clearance set up to the track frame. I bought a stack of each of these. Really handy stuff to have on hand when you're doing this type of work. The track frames, of course, have been prepped. All of the threaded holes are clean, as well as the mounting surfaces for the roller caps. They've been de-rusted, de-burred, so we're ready right there. To start, we're just going to do a standard shim and thrust washer arrangement in each cap. So we'll start with one shim, and we will put the thrust washer in on top of that. There we are, that one's clicked into place. We'll do the same with the other one. Assemble the caps to the roller and then bolt the roller down to the frame and then check and see what the Endplay looks like. So we'll start with what I call the number one position. It's the front roller, first one on the frame. And you want to make sure to seat the end caps all the way tight out against each side rail, because they have kind of a machined edge that is meant to locate right up against the edge of that channel. Okay, didn't fully tighten the bolts, but they're snug. That's all you need. I can already tell you that's some excessive end play. Our spec is 10 to 28 thousandths. That's looking more like 40 plus. Let's put the dial indicator on it and see. Yeah, that's pretty much 50 thousandths right there. So we have some clearance we need to take up. All right, so 50 thousandths in play. Let's take about 40 of that out. So that's 20 thousandths each side. So two shims each side, right? We had the single one that was behind that washer. Let's add two more. Stack them into the cap. And we'll place the washer back in, just like that. Okay. And of course, you always want to put the shims behind the washer, because the thrust washers are hardened as well as that hub face. They are meant to bear against one another and not wear. So if you put the shim just right on the shaft like that and throw the cap back on, yeah, you've taken up your end play, but the problem is the shim is soft and it's going to wear out very, very fast. You'd think that would be common sense, but I've taken so many of these rollers apart that had the shims between those hardened faces, and they just wear out immediately, because that's just, they're a soft metal. You can see this one's razor thin, and chunks of it have just worn away. It's getting ready to crack and split, and once they split, then they ball up in there and they cause a heck of a mess. I see that a lot, way more often than you would think. But I'll take this other one off, and yeah, we had just the single shim over here. Let's throw another two in, and we'll take a look at this here. Yep, place the washer back into the cap, reassemble. Retest. Get our dial centered up here. Yeah, 10 thousandths. So 11 if I really compress those shims. Liking that. So pretty simple setting that Endplay up. And now that we're all set to this roller stays with this rail. And really, being that we're trying to get to the tight end of the spec, 10,000 Endplay, we should probably keep this roller in this position, not even just, you know, swap it to another spot on this frame rail. So this is its home. It's where it lives now. 1 down, 7 more to go. $32. We can do better. $13, much better. Roller number 3 now, after repeating the same sequence, performed another shim adjustment, we're at 12. And finally, roller number 4. Again, we started out wide, about 42 thousandths, and we're able to shim it down to 12. So we've found the setup for this frame. Okay, everybody, so yeah, the scenery's changed a bit, and of course it's sometime later, but we carried out all those same steps to the other 4 rollers on the left side frame. And yeah, like I said earlier, undercarriage work is about repetition. You just have to get right with that and proceed on ahead. But yeah, everything has been set to a range of 10 to 15 thousandths Endplay. That's as close as you can get with, you know, 10 thousandths increment shims. And I also mentioned earlier about having seen slight variations in track frame width on other machines, and this set was no exception. You know, when we started out with our 1 shim in each cap initial setting and then checked Endplay on the right side, it was all around, you know, 40 thousandths range, and then we shimmed tighter from there. The left side track frame, all that stuff with a single shim in each cap, started out at 60 thousandths range, and we had to shim tighter from there. So we got about a 20 thousandths difference in width between these 2 track frames. Again, yeah, not really surprising. I've seen that before. So that's why if you're just getting another set of rollers to throw under your frames, you're always best off just checking the Endplay of those rollers. Make sure the shim setup matches the width of your frame. You don't want to end up too tight or too loose, vice versa. It just causes you problems. Transitioning to the bench now, yeah, we find more repetition. That's our game here. So that's undercarriage. Anyway, time to get the new seals put in all those caps. And you remember the heavy duty old fashioned ones we pulled out? That was the 4B8012. Those are gone. So my modern equivalent to that is a double seal setup. We have a 33711, 33712. Specifications are all right here. They're the same size seal. The difference is in the lip. 33711 is a single lip seal. So the single lip grease seal is meant to replace that heavy duty leather lip that was inside the old seals. The 33712 is a double lip seal. You can see we got this extra like kind of wiper lip on the outside. This is meant to basically replicate that heavy felt ring that was on the very outside. So the 33712 double lip catches the bulk of the debris, basically protects the 33711, which is what's going to hold all the grease in. And before I pan away, I should also mention these are a double case seal. So yeah, we have the case on the outside, but we also have a secondary case on the inside. Outer case is rolled over the inner one. Super heavy duty construction on each one of these. And I went with heavy duty seals because track rollers are in a pretty, now, it's a pretty adverse environment down here. They're in the dirt and the dust and the rocks and the grit, and we have a really stand-up set of bushings in all these caps. These bushings are nearly impossible to find. They're expensive to make. It's worth investing to protect them. That being said, I've got 16 of each of these seals stacked up here. That is an investment, but this is the combination I chose to most accurately replicate that old 4B8012 for the least amount of money. So let's do it. All right, so we have the first cap in the vise, and yeah, we just keep track of the shims and the washer and everything. That way we can't mess anything up. And also, all the other track rollers are still attached to the frames. I don't know, you might be able to see over there, the rest of them are all in place. We only do one at a time once we found our setup. That way we don't run the risk of, you know, putting something back in the wrong spot. So we'll start with the 33711. That's a single lip seal, and we'll actually flip this one upside down. I want the lip to be facing me. So that's how we're gonna plant that one. Forgive me, but sometimes an old bearing race makes for an excellent seal installer. So with the first seal all the way down to the bottom of the cap, we'll take the 33712, the double lip seal, and we're not going to face the seal lip of this one toward us. We're actually going to put that down like it's supposed to be. So I'll explain once I get it in place. So with that first seal put in backwards, that's going to protect it from any like overpressure situation that might happen when I'm greasing these rollers. Granted, I use the volume pump and they're a lot more forgiving than a grease gun, because with a volume pump, you can start feeling resistance as soon as the roller's full of grease, and you know, you stop right then and you don't blow seals. But should we overpressure it a little bit, with that seal being put in backwards, that lip's just going to kind of want to compress out, and any overpressure is going to just fill the void between the first seal and the second seal. Just gives you a little bit of leeway right there. Second seal, I put in, you know, normal, or I should say right side up, for lack of a better term, because, well, you know, we have a heavy duty lip in here. We have the secondary, like a wiper lip out here. I feel that that's going to work the best being put in the normal fashion. So that's probably the closest, you know, copy of that original seal that we can do, because the leather lip on the inside was facing us just like we did with the first seal that went in there, and then that heavy felt ring on the outside, that's just there to catch anything that it can catch going in or coming out. So, and both of those seals stacked on top of each other flush out just perfectly with the top of this cap. And yeah, it's almost like they were made for this application. Now we reinstall the machine screws, and they'll just act, you know, they'll do the same thing. They'll act the same way. With these new seals, they just kind of go over the top of the outer one. They're kind of a secondary line of defense to kind of keep both of these in the cap. Now we'll stack the shims in there. I put just a little coating of grease on things because it sticks all this stuff together. It won't, nothing will fall out, nothing will really move this way. So it helps quite a lot just to keep all this stuff in place while you're putting all this together. Now for the semi-fluid grease, this is what I use in all the track rollers. This stuff you definitely don't want to get on you because it stinks and you can't even wash it off. You got to wear it off. But this is some really tacky good stuff right here. Extreme pressure rated, and it will continue flowing into your bearing surfaces, and it won't push out and stay out like regular gun grease will. So really like this stuff for track rollers. We'll get it on the seal lips, we'll get it on the thrust washer, we'll get it on the bushing, get it all around. And I've also coated all the surfaces on the roller with the same 00 grease. So you can hear that air coming out. That means we got some good sealing action going on. So here's cap number 2. We did all the same things. 2 seals in, machine screws in, thrust washer, shims, everything's been greased, roller's been greased. So I like setting them in the caps like this with everything facing up. That way I know those shims and that thrust washer can't fall out, can't move. And I keep pretty good down pressure on this top cap because with everything being well sealed, it could want to push off just from air pressure inside. So there, we're good now. Set this one back in place now. Again, we're only doing one at a time. Once we find our setup, we only take one off at a time. And on all my undercarriage fasteners, I put a liberal coating of grease on everything. I know anti-seize has been brought up a lot on this channel. Again, I just don't like anti-seize. For me, it's just never worked, but I've always had excellent luck with regular old number 2 grease. For me, it just lasts longer than anti-seize. It does better than anti-seize. So every one of my undercarriage fasteners gets a really good coating of grease, because if I ever want to go take these back apart again and I've put grease on them, they're guaranteed to come back out. Click, 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 click. That'll make the comment section angry. We give it the spin test. Quite a bit of drag from the seals, but that's nice. That's good. So just the slightest amount of Endplay can be detected. Once you get all that grease in there, it's not going to click like it did when it was dry. So move on to the next. Let's hear it for word of the day, repetition, am I right? So that's all right. We got all 8 rollers done. They're sealed, they're pre-lubed, they're in position, permanently installed. This is where they're gonna live. So it's time to finish filling each one with grease. So yeah, we got the old Alamite volume pump out here. We're hooked to the first button head fitting. And the way I prefer to do these initial fills is I take these plugs out of the inside bushings. You can see all down the line, they're all out. So what that does, it gives a place for the air to escape as we're filling, you know, the cap and the hollow shaft of the roller and this other cap. We'll pump grease in until we see something just starting to come out. Then we'll put the plug back in, a couple more pumps, and it'll be good. And then repeat and repeat, right? So I mentioned this before. I'll get a little more in depth with it. I use a 00 rated semi-fluid grease. You can see right here. I just picked up another 2 pails today. We're going to restock. This stuff never gets any cheaper. So these 2 pails are going to last me for years and years. I mean, at present rate, at least until human civilization finally finishes failing. But yeah, it's some good stuff. And please don't do this without a glove on. But you can see it's thick enough to stick, but it's also thin enough to flow. So perfect for this application. Really, really good stuff. But like I said before, don't get it on you because it doesn't wash off. So we'll just start pumping. These volume pumps are nice because whether the handle's going up or going down, you are pumping grease. So this is going to take a little bit because, well, back when I still used regular, you know, gun grease. Whoa, hey, okay, yeah. Turns out that's not going to take as long as I thought. We're live, folks. I'm not even going to edit that out either. All right. Boy, that went a lot faster than I thought. Wow. Okay. Yeah, we're not perfect here either. So anyway, what I was going to say, back when I was still using regular gun grease before I did, you know, had the volume pumps and the semi-fluid and all that, I figured it was, well, not quite 5 tubes of grease to fill on a D2, 8 rollers, 2 front idlers, and a pivot shaft, just to give you kind of an idea how much it takes. So we'll put this back in the pail and I'll finish tightening that plug. I'll give it the last couple pumps and then we'll move on down the line. I don't want to make any more messes in front of you guys. I don't want you to think that I'm anything less than, you know, somewhat perfect. So, you know, you get the idea. Repetition, repetition. Oh man, I think we're finally done with track rollers, but repetition, right? So kind of makes me look forward to the idlers. At least there's only 2 of those. But yeah, so a couple things I want to go through here real quick. I noticed going back through some of the files on the camera that at one point it looked like, well, you know how a GoPro lens can sometimes skew the image? At one point I had one shot where it looked like these middle 2 rollers on this frame were way bigger around than the ones on each end. And I know how observant you all are, and somebody's going to point it out if I don't do this. So just to prove they're all the same, we'll put the straight edge along, all 4. And yeah, that is a perfectly matched set of rollers. You definitely, if that falls down, it's going to make a really loud noise. You definitely want to have on any crawler tractor rollers that are all the same diameter, because if you put a mismatched set with different wear rates on, the larger diameter ones with less wear are going to take more abuse than the smaller ones with more wear, because the larger ones are going to take more of the weight of the machine, more pounding. They will eventually wear down to match the more worn ones, but in the meantime, the bearings on those bigger rollers are going to take more punishment, so they're going to hammer out first, and you're still going to have a mess. And so it's best off to make sure all your track rollers are the closest you can get them to being the same diameter. Another question that came up a lot last time was, what is with the arrangement of these single flange versus double flange rollers on this D2? So standard D2 arrangement, this is not a standard kit, but standard arrangement would have been single flange in the front, then followed by double in the middle, single flange on the back. You always have to have a single flange on the back, because this drive sprocket is going to pass like through here. It's not enough to touch like the shell faces, but if you had a double flange back here, it would contact those 2 inner flanges. So you always have to have a single flange on the back on a D2. So yeah, this one, well, it's a set that has 3 doubles to every single, which I'm fine with personally. I do prefer a double flange on the front. It helps to guide that track chain in a little bit better, and it doesn't hurt one bit having 3 doubles, you know, and then just the singles where you need to have them. So even more so with those, you know, big chungus tracks that I'm planning on putting on 11-13. So that was really, I think, all I had to go through. It's getting pretty late in the shop. Again, okay, it's getting late. I apologize for the length of time it's been between uploads with this undercarriage stuff. Like, these rollers are so much tedious work, lots of hours in the shop, like I said, for not a lot of progress. But hopefully we have the most time consuming part of that undercarriage done. Front idlers next, then recoils, and then we pretty much have that part wrapped up. So I'm gonna get out of here. We got to start throwing video together before it's midnight, dark 30, everything else. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope to see you back again.